A very good afternoon to our audience here at the Volkhaus in Zurich, and of course also to our listeners at home who joined us via live stream. I would like to welcome you to this year's symposium. I'm Danny Neff. I'm the program manager at the team International Partnerships, and today I'm the host for the first time. It is a pleasure and an honor to welcome you and to host you together with the whole Biovision team. I would also like to welcome you to this year's symposium. I'm Stefanie Pandini. I'm with the policy and advocacy team, and I'm also part of the executive committee at Biovision. There's a lot going on at Biovision. That's on the one hand because we have many different projects, and on the other hand it's because there's a symposium, and there's always a lot going on at the symposium because many team members meet in the hallways, also in the meeting rooms. There are debates, and sometimes you also have to negotiate, and it's actually kind of a similar atmosphere as on a market, and I feel like on a market here. And I have to tell you, I really enjoy markets, and I visit them as often I can, for example in Zurich, but also, for example, in Addis Ababa. I have to admit, Danny, that I try to visit markets whenever I can, but I have to admit that I buy my food at the shops. Well, whether it's food shops or markets, there are always places of diversity, and they link consumers and producers. Sometimes the producers are only represented through their product, but still, it's a place where many different people meet, and that way, ideas and needs also meet. Exactly. This afternoon, we would like to invite you to visit this market of diversity. And together, we would like to find out what it takes that products are actually created and what it takes for them to get from the field to our shopping basket. That path is not only interesting, but also very challenging, because behind every product that we buy, there are many different people, and there's also a complex interplay of supply and demand. Right, markets and their dynamics are important things in our work, and only if we manage to keep the link sustainably and robust can we also create food systems that are fair and sustainable. You're right, Danny. We have a new strategy since this year. It's the strategy 24 through to 28. And our goal, Biovision's vision, has been the same since its foundation. We want to have enough food for everyone, produced by healthy people in a healthy environment. And we have realized to achieve this vision, markets and, of course, also the farmers are very important. And this is why we actually focus more on the markets and the value creation chains in our new vision. And in almost all of our projects, there's a market component. For projects, market components are very important in projects in East Africa. Besides sustainable production of foodstuff, it's also about to supply as many consumers with them as possible. We want to create markets, and we want to transform them. Is a big challenge. This afternoon, we provide insights in some of our projects and how they tackle exactly these challenges. And often there's the question, what comes first, supply or demand? And what's in between? Stefanie, I am really looking forward to the upcoming presentations that will give us further insights. so am I. The symposium is always very special. We are very pleased to give you insights into our interesting and valuable work. And to me personally, the symposium is always a beacon of hope in times where, unfortunately, wars and crises make us lose hope, because we can prove that we can actually achieve positive change with our work and that we get closer to our vision step by step. I would like to thank you for being here, for supporting Biovision, because without you, we couldn't do any of it. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Stefanie Bondini. First of all, we would like to invite you to come to Tanzania. Since the opening of the first health food shop in Morogoro, we have achieved a lot with our partner organization SAT Sustainable Agriculture Tanzania. Loredana Sorg, who's the member of the executive board and co-head of division International Partnerships, which makes her my boss, will tell us more about how we support farmers together with SAT, how we help them to produce sustainable foods and also get them to consumers. Organic certification, but also entrepreneurship are important components. Please welcome Loredana Sorg on the stage. Thank you, Danny. Good afternoon. I'm very pleased, as are my colleagues, to welcome you today. And I'm extremely pleased that I get to talk about a project that's very important to me and about a partnership that's. At Biovision, I work with many different people and projects, and you will get to learn more about a few of them this afternoon. This project in Tanzania is very important to me because I've known the organization for a long time. 10 years ago, I actually got to live and work in Tanzania for a few months. SAT was very small back then. There were only 8 members of staff. And on the other hand, the project I would like to tell you about this afternoon is something that I've actually known since its whole existence. I think it was about 5 years ago. One of the founders, Alex Vostri, told me about the problems of the supply and demand that don't match. And I'll tell you about it later on. The cooperation with SAT actually started earlier with a humble but important gesture, because Biovision donated the first laptop. Back then, SAT worked in this tiny office, and next to it there was a vegetable patch where they showed different things to farmers. At the same time, they also built a training center where many different groups of farmers can be trained. And that makes them a very important player in Tanzania. You might remember Janet Morrow, who's the director of the organization, or you might remember reports that we published in our magazine. The terrain around Ngorongoro is very rough and steep, and the forest can only be found at the very top, and luckily it's protected. And because there is agriculture in this steep terrain, soil erosion is a problem. And this is why there are courses at SAT to make terraces and to make the soil more solid. For example, here in Mbangbazi, the village where the farmers cultivate grass strips and other plants to prevent soil erosion. This also leads to improved water retention capacity. And that means that the plants that grow, the vegetables that grow, are healthier. And then there's the training center in Bianzi. I would like to show this picture because there's a stark contrast between this picture and the one I showed you before. Bianzi is only 20 kilometers from the mountains that I showed you before. And still, the climate is completely different. There's almost no rain, and the soil is very dry and hard. And SAT wanted to prove that under these conditions, agroecology works. By now, thousands of farmers have gotten training, for example, in grafting mango trees. And the training center is now a center of excellence for agroecology. Representatives from NGOs and policymakers come here to work on the concepts, but also on the practice. Together with SAT, we seem to be ahead of time very often. And I would like to illustrate that by giving you an example. So, for example, it's an organic yogurt. If I buy that in Winterthur or you buy it at your home, then there's a very complex system behind it, from agriculture, processing in a dairy industry, and then the transport, packaging, and also sales. And we also need that kind of system, a working system in Tanzania, to ensure that the organic products actually get to the shops or the markets. And this is just a reminder. You might remember the picture that Danny showed. This is the first organic shop in Tanzania. And Janet Morrow can tell you that we're already a step.
When you look at this yogurt, you don't see the journey it took to get here. Many people are still unaware of the benefits of organic products. It is a promise for better health for yourself and a better environment for everyone. Despite their hard work, many organic producers still struggle to make a stable income. Not only here in Switzerland, but also I have observed this in Tanzania. That's where my organization SAT comes in. We provide farmers with trainings and enable them to grow organic products successfully. But that's not enough. These farmers need markets, consumers who appreciate and value what they're growing. That's why we are working hard to build a flourishing organic market in Tanzania. Our vision is that as many organic products as possible in the shelves. And yes, you can even get your organic groceries delivered. We are also empowering small businesses and investing in processing infrastructure like dairy production. These efforts help to close the gap between what is produced and what is bought.
Hey Janet, are you ready? Let's continue our discussions.
Sure, 1 second. Transforming our food systems is not easy, but together we can make it happen. One yogurt, one farmer, one shop at a time.
Janet Morrow is not here today, but when she was in Europe in August, she visited us in Zurich. Then we discussed about the project and its challenges, and we also shot this video in our kitchen at Biovision. During the discussions with Janet, we understood that it is a core challenge. The demand of organic products, to actually get an idea of that when there aren't that many organic products in the shops. And a particular challenge in Tanzania is that if you are able to find organic products, for example, in the cities, they are important. But SAT and Biovision really want to supply local markets with locally produced products. And often, particularly in Tanzania, there is a lack of information in Tanzania why organic products have health benefits and also ecological benefits. In Switzerland, it's a bit better, and we'll hear about that later on. To bridge that gap, we need many small and medium-sized enterprises. They play an important role. SIT is active in many different departments together with other stakeholders. They train young farmers in simple processing, for example, in drying fruit, but also when it comes to build a network for different companies. The goal is to improve the market for organic products in Tanzania and to improve the access to healthy products for everyone. These three enterprises, Kazi Yetu, I Am Organic, and SAT, are SMEs from Tanzania, and they approached us and told us, please, Biovision, can you support us in building our own competition? And that might sound surprising, but the thinking behind that was that they were not able to produce enough organic products to create a broad range of products and to win consumers. And this is why we came up with the idea to help other companies to make that transition and to improve the cooperation with the farmers. Again, the goal is to get a flourishing organic sector in Tanzania and to make it more resilient. The development of value creation chains in the food sector actually came to life. What do these two pictures have in common? Both are groups of young people. They're all from Tanzania. And in both pictures, you see people that have a lot to do with Biovision and our partners. But there's 5 years in between these two pictures. The one to your left, that group, are mainly entrepreneurs. They have many good ideas, but often they don't have the know-how to actually turn that into a successful business idea, and often they don't have access to resources that are produced by the farmers that you can see on the right. Constant access to organic resources is very important to have a cooperation with supermarkets and get organic products to the shop shelves. That's also the case in Switzerland. But when Coop would not have invested in the organic sector in the 90s, we wouldn't be where we are today, probably. And other supermarket chains and also small food shops joined Coop on that path. And we need that kind of transformative approach in Tanzania as well. The three companies organized workshops and professional networks and also specific trainings in order to enable people to be successful in sustainable entrepreneurship. 60 companies applied and 20 were then chosen to work with us for 3 years. Besides processing that is of high quality and safe, we also had courses in bookkeeping to have a solid business plan. And popular were the matching sessions, which is kind of speed dating for farmers and companies. the idea is that the two groups actually meet. For example, Sofia Gundula, who's an entrepreneur from Dar es Salaam, the business center in Tanzania. Her company is Daily Life, and she provides dried fruit, cereals, and jams, etc. And with this project, she has easier access to farmers who produce organic ingredients. Sofia Gundula not only benefited from this approach, but thanks to the training, she also improved her business plan and she could test it. She could get in touch with other entrepreneurs and she improved packaging. Maybe that sounds like a small problem, but when you have to think about what Tanzanians choose in the shops, it's the products that look interesting but not like a luxury. And that's what we talked about in that workshop. And the feedback in the end gets back to the farmers. They benefit from security, from long-term contracts, because they know that their products will be sold as sustainable and organic products, that they will get a fair price for them. And in addition, they get direct feedback from the market. That way, they can adapt their development and they know what kind of vegetables they have to grow according to demand. For this system to work, we need a solid basis of SMEs, and we need organizations like Biovision who are brave enough to try out these new forms of cooperation and develop them further. So that kind of takes me back to the talk I had with the staff member of SAT who had good ideas, and hopefully we will have many more good ideas.
We can make it. One yogurt, one farmer, one shop at a time. Vielen Dank.
Thanks a lot, Loredana, for this really riveting insight into your work. To me, it was particularly interesting to see that healthy food is not just a consumer good, it's a product of a complex system with many people involved that are in very close collaboration. Do you see that in this way as well? Yes, of course. It's very fascinating to see the role of the farmers when they work with entrepreneurs. Only if they take the opportunity of producing can the system work. And it enables quantum leaps for the entrepreneurs. If the farmers, that then enable the farmers to sell their products. Ladies and gentlemen, Loredana. Yes, in our first part, we mainly talked about products that come from the field to the shop, such as bananas. And now we'd like to focus on what's necessary to produce bananas. We need healthy soils. We need the right climate, of course. We need the know-how of farmers, male and female. But we also need inputs, such as organic pesticides, fertilizers, or seeds. For these inputs to be available, we need functioning markets, and we need agroecological entrepreneurs. These products have to be processed milk becomes cheese, for example. In Uganda and Kenya, we promote, together with our partner Shona, these kinds of agroecological enterprises. We want them to be the driving force in our transformation towards a more sustainable and fairer food system. And a first-hand report on what we do, Lucy Asiimwe, is going to be given by Lucy Asiimwe, who is our guest speaker today. First, however, Fabio Leippert will give you a bit of context. Please welcome Fabio Leippert. A cordial welcome to you all. I can't see you, but it's great to know that so many people are present. As has been said by my previous speakers, when we go to Eastern Africa in our heads, we often forget that we have a very important resource. We have lots of people with many valuable ideas. Numerous really well-trained young people that have new ideas. It's a real ecosystem of ideas, of startups, of people who want to have an opportunity and often don't get it. These people and their enterprises want to meet the challenges of their communities. They look for alternatives to food that is full of pesticides and endangers their families. These are people who want to create ecological and social jobs. They want to work in such jobs and don't find them. They are people with an entrepreneurial spirit. You can see some of these in the background. And it's so impressive to see that vibrating ecosystem, to feel it. However, very often opportunities are lacking for supporting these enterprises. We did an in-depth analysis and have identified 3 points that are important for agroecological enterprises and that hinder them from growing and that hinder them to become the driving force of the transformation. So it's like different layers that are needed for the transformation. The first obstacle, the first C, is capacity. We lack training. We lack support for entrepreneurs in bookkeeping, for example. And we, in particular, lack the network to create ecological enterprises. The second obstacle is C, like access to money. These enterprises find it very hard to find money. They don't have access to bank credits. They mainly rely on grants, but you can't really make progress with grants. You can't really have an entrepreneurial spirit if you're dependent on grants. Third obstacle, the third C, is connections. Many of these people fight an individual fight, but they need a network, they need a vibrant ecosystem where they collaborate. Tackle the 3 C's, the 3 obstacles. And this enables agroecological enterprises to grow. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to be here today and to present our unique instrument that we created in order to overcome these obstacles. Neycha. And before I continue, I'd like to ask Lucy to come to the stage. She was already mentioned, because she can tell you much more than I can about Neycha.
So welcome, dear Lucy.
Thank you.
We are really glad to have you here and hear from your first-hand experience working every day with Neycha, how this really works. So what is Neycha exactly?
Well, I'm glad to be here, Fabio. Well, Neycha is an accelerator and fund, and it's designed to support growth-oriented agroecology enterprises to grow as businesses, but then to also increase their agroecology impact as businesses. And so we do that so that they can be able to attract follow-on investment, because capital, as you mentioned, is one of the biggest bottlenecks. But we do that through combining the 3 C's, the capital, the capacity for them also, and then the connections they need to grow as businesses. Yeah.
And what are exactly agroecological enterprises? Do they even exist in Uganda and Kenya?
Yeah, they do exist. These are businesses that are designed to support smallholder farmers to transition to agroecology. And so they do that through training them, but then because they're designed as agroecology enterprises, that means they also practice the 13 principles of agroecology. So for example, the fairness principle, where businesses are designed to also include fair pay for smallholder farmers along their value chain, but then also support them to train them. And then also these businesses are environmentally conscious. So that means they are practicing recycling, they are also managing in terms of waste control and reduction of waste. And then they're also contributing to governance structures within their ecosystem. So they provide evidence to policy formulation within the areas where they operate as businesses. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you could summarize it as they need to be guided and follow the 13 agroecological principles, and certainly also not trespass it, so work against them.
Yeah.
And name of this project, Neycha, what does it mean?
Neycha. When you hear Neycha, it sounds like nature. And nature itself, agroecology itself is nature. And so these are different components of nature. Biodiversity, we talk about soil components. We also talk about the biodiversity in the humus, and then even us as human beings, because we want to consume healthy products. So nature was just a unique expression of nature. And then we added accelerator and fund to it, because those are the different activities we are doing with the enterprises. By acceleration, that means we are providing the capacity and the connections they need. And with the fund, it's just the capital to stimulate these businesses to be able to grow. Yeah, so that's why it's the Neycha Accelerator and Fund. Yeah.
And so, of course, I've been involved a little bit in the name finding, but it was your suggestion, and I'm really happy about the layout and the name and how it's also, the reaction it is triggering.
Yeah. You were involved when it was just a mere idea. So what's your story? What's the story behind it?
Yeah, it's 5 years from now. It all started in 2019 with a concept that wanted us to analyze how can Biovision do things in new ways, including the investment space, right? Also mobilizing additional money from other investors, from financiers, from venture philanthropy. And then Accelerator was one of the options that came out then. And based on that, we were really working with many partners, with grassroots organization, because the agroecology movement is really based in the grassroots, and we need to have them on board if we want to go into the direction and supporting enterprises, we need the backup and also them checking if we do the right thing, right? We also did a feasibility study, co-financed by the United Nations. And so a lot of preparation work, and eventually we were looking for partners to implement that. And Shona, your organization was one of the applicants, and based on your vision that was really about growing good businesses, having an impact beyond just making money, and also seeing your application, we then bravely chose you, and we never regretted it since. So, I mean, I must say our bi-weekly calls where we steer the projects, all the adjustments, the flexibility, the innovativeness is really something that motivates me daily to work on this. And I mean, how do you see it?
I think it's going well at the moment. We have 39 businesses in the Neycha Accelerator and Fund at the moment. And of those, we have 20 businesses that are coming from Kenya, and then we have 19 that are coming from Uganda. And then what makes me the happiest is that 14 of those businesses are female-owned businesses, and you really see the energy. So, yes, yeah. And,
you made quite an effort.
Oh, yeah, we made a very big effort to get them, and they're very inspiring businesses. And, so the capacity building and the investment readiness activities are most of what we are involved with at the moment with the different businesses. Yeah,
and you're coming just back, I mean, you just arrived in Switzerland, but 2 weeks ago there was a boot camp, a workshop, a 1-week workshop, and you brought some footage along, some videos from that boot camp. Let's have a look at this.
Yeah.
I would like to give you a warm welcome as cohort 2, as participants of the Neycha Accelerator and Fund 2024. The aim of this is to help you build agroecological businesses. This session helps agroecological enterprises rethink how to use financial data to make strategic decisions, for example, in marketing, expansion, and cost reduction, while leveraging tools like budgets and cash flows to set them up for business success. At the end of the day, what we would like to see is a 3-year growth plan that is strong, and we also want to see you having final showcase pitch deck. We're also going to help you to build strong business models and making sure that your products are ready for market.
Small sample, but it gives you an idea of the kind of activities we do. That was just a business simulation activity. I just have a question for you. I always wonder, why Shona? Of all businesses, why Shona? Yes.
We could have, of course, chosen a bigger, more established international company, and they were applying as well. But of course, this is not Biovision's way, and it's not really what agroecology is about. It's about strengthening local capacities, strengthening local actors, and working with the local expertise, because you know also better what these companies face, what their challenges are, what the solutions are. You know the whole space. You have also ample experience of 10 years business development, right, as Shona.
Yeah.
So it was not that brave, that choice, but it was intentional to work with a local organization. And then we really started co-creating this from that concept phase, from that idea. And since then, living this marriage, and happily, I would say. I hope. Would you agree, Lucy? Or don't tell if you don't agree, but what do you think?
Well, there's no option. I do agree, and in all ways, it's really practical because our relationship with Biovision, Shona and Biovision, is really a co-creation process. Earlier, you mentioned the feasibility study and to design the Neycha Fund, and Shona was part of that feasibility study. And our partnership with Biovision is it's more collaborative than top-down, telling you what to do. It's more like we are learning along the way. And so our norm in the steering committee where you are and where Joachim, our CEO, is, and I participate in that, there's a lot there in terms of co-creating solutions. And so we I mean, it's more like an eco-partnership, and the context is you're always seeking to like localize the context to understand what the business dynamics they are for Kenya and Ugandan businesses. So my personal experience now at an individual level, I see a lot of doing and learning together with you. And then also there is a lot of openness in regards to what's working and what's not working. Our nature is complex. And so we're always trying, if something doesn't work, we're always co-creating to get a solution for that. So the adaptiveness in the way we've implemented Neycha for the last 2 years at least has really enabled us to create solutions for things that have been working, and then for the ones that have been struggling. But then I think we're going to be able to achieve that change we are looking for as Neycha. Yeah. Well, I have a question for you, though. We've heard why we need Neycha. You've talked about the change we want to see. You've also said how we want to collaborate. Could you really talk about how Neycha really works from your perspective and from the experience you've so far gathered? Yeah.
Yeah, happy to do that, of course. So it all starts here. The nucleus is an enterprise. An agroecological enterprise can be a smaller one, also a little bit bigger ones, but in the direction of what Loredana was talking about, KMUs, kleinere mittlere Unternehmen, but going also a bit further. Mm-hmm. So a very diverse set of enterprises. And then, and I talked about this already, so you need these 3 messages to take home, the 3 layers, right? The first layer, capacity. Again, it's really about helping these enterprises with knowledge and skills, trainings, to help them to become better, more efficient, more focused on their business model, more thorough in their bookkeeping, very important part, managing of cash flow, and all this in an agroecological way. So integrating agroecology in the value chain, how to treat staff, how to treat suppliers, so farmers. I mean, in the end, it's also about the effect of these enterprises to farmers, buying on the market what they produce, right? Changing the market. So think this in an integrated way. And this is what we call the accelerator part, the capacity building part. And it's being done in a pre-boot camp, then in this boot camp where what we were talking about, like 1 week, face-to-face, founders of enterprises in one place for 1 week, working very intensively on things, and then post-boot camp support, very tailor-made, very specific support along the way. That all ends up in a growth plan, in an agroecology growth plan that shows how this enterprise wants to grow in an agroecological way. Then the second layer, the second C, we heard it, the capital part. And this is part of what makes this very unique, because usually you have accelerators, they support, but we blended in a capital component, so access to finance. Because many of these enterprises then, after that, still struggle to find money. Yeah. And we are not speaking of grants, we are speaking of loans, so money they will pay back with interest. Nonetheless, not many finance institutions give it or can give it to conditions that are suitable for these enterprises. They need a bit different interest rates, different payback periods, different modalities. And there, Shona, through Neycha, is very flexible and has a lot of expertise as well. So we hand out loans of $10,000 to $50,000 in local currency, Kredite in German, which need to be paid back. So Neycha basically takes a risk that others don't, because we are convinced that agroecological enterprises are the future. They are in the mid and long term the ones that will succeed, that will be growing and more successful and be able to pay back. So that is what makes it a bit different and very special. So far, until today, we have handed out loans of $137,000 to 4 companies. Yeah. Then, last layer of this onion, Neycha onion, is connections. Yeah. Maybe you can say a bit more on that?
Yeah, yes, of course. We tried to build connections around the agroecology enterprises and also within. So the first entry point is that these businesses actually are the best peers with each other. So we try to connect them again. So we've also split them into peer clusters to learn, but then also hold each other accountable. And then we also connect them to potential markets, those that are looking to explore beyond where they're operating, those that are looking also to, because investment readiness is not only looking at the Neycha fund, but then also there are several other investment opportunities that these businesses can touch. And so we try to connect them there. And then also potential partners like for certification and to understand other things. And so we also make arrangements to showcase these businesses in strategic events, like I will showcase one of them today, but there are different events that happen in East Africa where we try as much as possible to showcase these agroecology enterprises. And if there is potential for them to connect anywhere on their own from their own initiative, our door is an open door policy where they reach out to us and we can make that connection by leveraging our own internal networks, but then also the networks of our partners to get them there. Yeah.
Yeah, you hinted to the last bit more hidden layer, but I want to mention it nonetheless because my team is policy advocacy, right? So how does this connect? And that's exactly what you said. We need showcases. We need enterprises that go out and are proof agroecology works also in a business, from a business perspective. We need to convince policymakers, investors, financiers. We need to change that ecosystem towards a more favorable one. And for that, we have this enabling environment activities. And for that reason, also Neycha is part of the policy advocacy activities of Biovision. But of course, it's in the mix of everything. It's just a new way of trying to change that system, connected to everything else, of course, Biovision does.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very simple. And my headphone is falling off. So, I've talked a bit enough, I think. Maybe Lucy, please. You've been there, you work every day with these guys. What does it concretely mean?
So we've so far had the first, then the second cohort, and I would like to share a little bit more about what has happened in the second cohort. We have now 20 businesses in the second cohort. We have 9 from Kenya. We have 11 from Uganda. What is interesting is the diversity, because they come at different, there are those that are in the processing and value addition. We have those that are in the input supply. We also have those that are at production level, and also those that are in between. They are providing training services also for businesses to grow, but then also for farmers. We focused on building a strong agroecology business model. So it's not just a business model, but understanding where agroecology fits in for every business. So it's tailored, understanding the 13 principles and looking at what is practical for every other business. The ultimate goal for us as we do a boot camp, which is really like a second phase in the training, is to work out with a 3-year growth strategy, because this growth strategy for the business is more like what's happening to you in the next 3 years as an agroecology enterprise. And this becomes the basis for every kind of interaction or support that we give the businesses. And so the sessions we have are very practical. You saw the business simulation, and so we have more on those ones to really sharpen their financials. And then there's sessions to do with, for example, organic certification for those that are looking to attract several markets. We also try to organize that for them. Now, for me, when we had this boot camp, the cherry on top was the experience we had at an agroecology innovation farm. It was really, really, and you're now only going to get a highlight. You don't get we were lucky enough to get the exact feeling, but I hope it's worthwhile for you. So we have a video for you.
Today is a very happy day. We have hosted Neycha. They've spent the whole day and they all look happy. The vibe is high and we are also happy. Agroecology is now a big movement in Africa, and it's very important that people come on ground and see what actually happens in practice.
I'm very happy to be part of Neycha Cohort 2. We highly appreciate the successful training that have been there. It was an eye-opener to me on the approach of agroecological integration to our businesses. And we highly appreciate Neycha for their support.
Yeah, I guess that says it already. I think video has the advantage, it makes you feel the energy, right?
Yeah.
And I've been there last year in the first boot camp, and it's just, it goes deep. It really moved me to see that energy. I mean, these are founders of enterprises staying 1 week in one place, working day and night and running businesses behind. So they don't need to stay there if they don't see added value, but obviously they do. And yeah, a lot of new ideas, energy. So breaking it further down, do you have an example for us of such a company that participates?
I do. I picked a female-owned business, Greencom. Greencom is owned by Mildred Gashoka and Day, and it's located in Western Kenya. And they produce agricultural inputs from agricultural waste. And so they produce inputs such as pesticides, foliar, which is a stimulant to other fertilizer, and then they also produce their own biofertilizer. They work with approximately 1,000 farmers, not 100, 1,000 farmers, because these farmers also supply them the agro waste, which they use as raw materials in their processing. But then the same farmers also use the fertilizer, the business. I like that they train these farmers also in terms of how they can do their own composting, so that they're not giving them the wet waste, but then they can be able to also earn from that as an income generating activity. So you can see visibly their link to smallholder farmers. Her interest as Mildred to apply to Neycha was, she was looking for a fund that could align with her business vision. She's going towards being 100% organic. And so Neycha already talks about agroecology, and there are several components for that. And she was looking for a business like that, a fund like that. What was also more interesting was the capacity that would come with it, but then the linkage to capital that is really very suitable for the size of business and the nature of business, so that they're able to transition from their dependence on grants. At the moment, businesses that small really depend on grants, and so she wanted to transition to commercial capital. Yeah. In terms of when you look at Greencon, when we are selecting certain businesses, we consider several parameters. We look at the agroecology practice as businesses because, yes, we recognize they're transitioning, but then we also look at what is exactly existing at the moment for them to be able to get selected. Also the revenue, because these are growth-oriented, they're getting a loan which they must pay back, so they have to be able to showcase that the business exists and it's attaining some revenue. And then the value chain influence, as you can see for Greencom, the influence with the smallholder farmers, it's direct. You can see what they're doing. They're training and they're buying back from them at the same time. So that value chain influence makes sense when you're talking about agroecology. Location, because this was really Uganda and Kenya, so we had to work with businesses that are locally owned and then also located in Uganda and Kenya. Gender diversity is very important for these enterprises. While we were also intentionally looking for female-owned businesses, also within the business themselves, how much are they working also with young females or female smallholder farmers to also empower them as part of their supply chain? Yeah. So. Yeah.
I mean, you see, this is really complex work, and there's no company like the other.
No.
And we don't expect you to read all this. It just shows you the depth of analysis that is necessary. Because this is also selective, right? We don't choose everyone. It's like only 20 enterprises every year. So first you need to narrow down for the best ones, then even further down for the loans. Yeah. A lot of this information is also online. So for those who really would like to dig deeper, a lot is available.
Yeah.
And very concretely, so Greencom, Mildred was at the boot camp. That's the first layer, right?
Yes. She was at the boot camp, and like I mentioned, the growth plans are not blanket growth plans, and so in her own growth plan, one of the primary objectives was for her to scale because she is one of the smaller businesses that entered. So the technical support that was designed for her is to support her to scale, increasing farmers, also looking at the production ambitions she has. And because she's in agro inputs and has the ambition to be 100% organic, there are several certifications at every other stage. If she's going to scale, that means the environment impact assessment has got to be in check. So we are supporting her to attain that certification because she has secured a site for that. But then also the Kenyan Bureau of Standards has certain standards for your product to access certain markets. And so she had taken some steps, so we are supporting her to get further in getting efficacy tests for the product to check its harmfulness. So we are also supporting that. But while we are also supporting her to strengthen and build her farmer linkages in terms of having the right training structured. So whatever support we give each business, it has got to mean, it has to make sense because it's tailored to a business like that. Yeah.
And that's the magic
Yeah.
Shona really knows how to do.
Yeah.
And blending it with agroecology expertise of our network of Biovision is really what makes it different.
Yeah.
What about the second layer, capital?
So the fund businesses have to show interest. It's there, it's available, but some businesses sometimes are not yet ready. They just want acceleration. And so those that showed interest, she was among that showed interest. But it was deferred by the investment committee based on certain reasons. And being deferred does not mean it's a total rejection. So it was based on her financial records that were still all over the place as a business, and also her scale was still really small. So that feedback is what we take as the accelerator side to focus on to be able to turn that around. And we have a target with Mildred that within the next 6 months, we can actually go back to the fund and they'll be able to get the money if we put certain things, because it was easy to work with, to work at that. So, and that's what it is. We work with the IC, they give us feedback, we work on that feedback with the businesses to turn them around to get the fund. Yeah.
So I think two things are really important to highlight here. I would like to stress that again. You see, this is competitive. At the same time, it's friendly. Only the best ones get a loan. So it's really trying the attempt to be a friendly moneylender that helps also to grow and become successful. That's the balancing act, right?
Yeah.
And secondly, that money that is handed out as loans, this is not Biovision's money, it's not Neycha's money, it's money that we raise somewhere else from investors. So the whole Neycha fund of about the 1 million at the moment is fed externally by other investors. So that vehicle also helps us, Biovision, our partners, to mobilize additional finance into that sector, into agroecology. At the same time, bring investors on board and they learn and they see, okay, this can work, this is promising, this has potential. So, you see, this gets deeper and deeper and more complex, more fascinating or not. We stop here, but we definitely will give you more information. There's also the August magazine of Biovision with 2 more enterprises portrayed. Online, there's a lot. But coming to an end, Lucy, what is your personal vision for Neycha?
Short term. In the short term, that there's a phase 2 for Neycha, because the phase 1 it's ending next year, and so we're looking towards a phase 2. So that's my vision, and doing better. And thriving agroecology enterprises. By the end of the first phase, there will be 59 businesses, hopefully, and we want to see that they are thriving. One, their commercial viability is in check, and now they can openly get any capital as and when, but also this kind of capital that is looking at sustainable businesses that are more focused on sustainable practices like agroecology. Yeah.
And 10 years?
In 10 years. I'm very ambitious, but I'm also very hopeful.
I know that you're very ambitious. I can see that every week.
Yeah. So the one that's the most important, I think, we're looking at a self-sustaining agroecology fund. This fund where agroecology enterprises can actually walk in and be able to access based on the criteria. And so we're also working with the capital side to build their selection criteria for businesses they fund to integrate agroecology aspects using the BIACT assessment results. The other thing is that Neycha becomes the go-to place for information regarding businesses that want to transition to agroecology, or investors that want to understand more about agroecology, that there's like information and evidence for that. That more enterprises at different stages are accessing loans. As you can see, we have another missing middle below the ones we are taking in at Neycha. You heard about Rutico, that is the business builder for building businesses, agroecology enterprises from scratch. So can we have also those ones be able to access? But then also gender-based financing. So there's a partner that we are discussing gender-based financing to stimulate also female enterprises. We have a community of practice at the moment, and we want it to grow. It has different stakeholders, Biovision part of that, and also different investors. So it becomes the platform for agroecology investment discussions, but not just discussing, but influencing. Lastly, that the Neycha approach is scaled beyond Uganda and Kenya, but we go to Tanzania, we go to Rwanda. Yeah.
We heard. We were discussing who should have the last word. And I think that's the last word.
Yeah.
Only one last sentence. I'm really moved, not content, moved and amazed how far we come in these 2 years. 39 enterprises are working with Neycha and see the benefit of it. There must be a benefit, otherwise they would not do this, invest so much time. And we see how others get convinced, how many people look at us and want to know more and want to learn more. So this is just the beginning. We promise to do everything to continue, work hard together. And yeah, thanks for sticking with us in this very complex topic, we know. At the same time, it's connecting so many things Biovision does. So we figured, yeah, you can take this. And Lucy, thanks for this amazing job.
You're welcome.
Every day and today. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
You should know the moderator always has the last word, so that's why I'm on stage again.
There are many last words.
That was an exciting insight into the complexity of agroecological entrepreneurship. And I think your presentation very nicely showed that capital, capacity, and connection are key elements for the success of these enterprises, and therefore also for a functioning market. Lucy, before you leave the stage, you have not traveled from Uganda empty-handed, right?
No.
But you brought something with you.
I did. Some are there physically, but then I have a few samples. I mean, there are 39 businesses, so I could only carry the things that I could take through the airport. But we have a business that is in the honey sector, and really always exploring different ways of doing that. And they're trying to be as agroecological as possible. We have one that is in healthy spices, moringa. If you know moringa, it's really one of the best for health reasons. Cashew nuts. If you taste the cashew nuts, you will not stop buying kaya nuts, cashew nuts. Then stevia, it's a natural plant that's an alternative to sugar, and they want to grow it as organically as possible. It's a business that is really growing. And then we have another business that is in fruit snacks, packaging and drying all sorts of organic fruits. Just a few samples.
Wow, what a variety. Thank you very much, Lucy, and thank you also, Fabio. Meine Damen und Herren, Lucy Asiimwe und Fabio Leippert.
Thank you.
Wenn Sie ebenfalls jetzt gewundrig sind.
If you're curious and if you would like to discover the products that Lucy has brought us, you're more than welcome to have a stroll among the market stalls that are up here on stage, but also in the hall. We don't only have products from Neycha, but also from other partners from East Africa. For example, we have coffee from Malawi or hibiscus tea from Kenya. We don't only have products from East Africa, but also from Switzerland. So from our projects here in Switzerland, for example, there's cheese or wine from a biodynamic vineyard, or we have a fake risotto from a cereal barley. So if you don't know what it is, just go ahead and discover it. At the different stalls, you'll see the Biovision staff members who can tell you more about the products. And they are also happy to tell you about their work with Biovision. So if you have any questions, please ask them. But there's more. At the market stalls, you can get raffle tickets. And if you're lucky, there's a number on that ticket. That means that you have won one of these many prizes, one of these many products, and you can get the prize at the end of the symposium. If there's no number on the ticket, it's a losing ticket. But not really, because you still get a chance to win the big prize, which is the gift basket. You can see it up here on stage. It's provided by the organic farm Glauser in Wichtrach. Wichtrach, I don't really know what it is. That's like a fake risotto. I've never heard about it. But it actually won the prize of the most beautiful farm shop this year. So it's definitely worth a visit. We'll resume the symposium at 3:30. Enjoy your break.